Hello, hello, hello. Hooligan Soccer Podcast on this Thursday morning, beginning of May, with myself, Gary Striker, and as always, the Qooligan. Good morning, Qooligan. How are you?
I'm doing my Javier Mascherano face.
I don't want to sub any of my buddies off. That's it, right? That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was just that close up on him last night after that second goal. Priceless. I mean, that
Priceless. Magnificent.
Wow.
Well, we've got a lot to get into.
What past 2 days. I mean, it's crazy.
Indeed it is.
It's completely and utterly insane what's happening right now in the soccer world. And I got to say, I love it. I really like it.
No shortage of narratives.
None.
Indeed.
None.
So today we'll be going through, obviously, all of the semi-finals in all the various European and CONCACAF Champions Cup competitions that have happened and are happening or about to happen as well, and in the future as well as the past tense. We'll then obviously delve into the upcoming games in the upcoming weekend, obviously across the Premier League, the MLS, and the USL, and also as well, and then any other side narratives and banter and bullshit we're able to stumble upon along the way. But before we do that, once again, it would be foolish of me not to plug and have our second live read advert ever for our other podcast that we will be launching for the upcoming FIFA Club World Cup. There it is. Yes, this is ad. We are launching a daily fan-centric show called the FIFA Club World Cup, a global showdown. We are going to be doing morning shows, talking about the games before, the games beforehand, the games of that coming day. We will obviously have a number of sort of co-contributors, fans as well, who have been at the game. I believe we're also going to be going to a few games as well and getting into this as well. So we're going to start building it up as well. So follow, like, subscribe, all of those wonderful things across all of your podcasting platforms, wherever you get this. Just go and search FIFA Club World Cup and you will find it with the Qooligan and Gary Striker. Okay, plug over, Qooligan.
Yes.
Now, yesterday we had two semi-finals, one in the Champions League and one in the CONCACAF Cup.
Absolutely.
Where do you want to start?
I mean, let's go in chronological order and get all of the superlatives out of the way. I mean, I think we're going to run out of words. Gary, we're going to run out of words to describe some of the brilliance and chaos that we saw yesterday. But Barcelona Inter, in my opinion, was the greatest game, 90 minutes, the greatest game of football, soccer this year. Just
this year.
I mean, really, so far. Yeah. I mean, we got a long ways to go. And there will be other brilliant games, but this has got to be in the top 10 if it's not in the top 5. It was
easy,
spectacular.
It was. I recall last time we spoke, we looked at this and we were like, we're too close to call. Maybe Barca with the form they're on, and we were saying Inter, they've lost a few games, and obviously they've dropped out of the Serie A race as well. That was, it was too close to call. But
it was too close to call.
What a spectacle it was! Yeah,
too close to call, but for all the right reasons.
Yes,
because fastest goal ever.
Yes,
fastest Champions League goal ever. 29 seconds, right? Marcus Thuram with that sassy little back heel. I mean,
it's just embarrassment. Embarrassing for Barcelona. Yes.
I mean, it's like it was just, it's like the whistle blew and they were still, like picking their nose. I don't know, right? Honoring the Pope. It's like a lot of reasons why. And you could just tell it was almost as if the shockwaves, you could feel the shockwaves reverberating through Camp Nou. It was like, what just happened?
What the hell? Yeah.
And then they got a second. And then of course, and and here's the thing, out of the 4 goals, right? I wrote about this. The 4th goal that Barca scored in order to equalize it would normally have been one of those goals that you see in a highlight reel as, check out this amazing moment. And that was the worst goal scored in that half.
Yeah. It was.
The worst.
It really was.
And all things considered, the Inter's first 2 goals, spectacular. Dumfries was on a completely other level. By the way, he credits all of that to Surinamese food. In case you were curious, in his post-game interview with CBS, they asked him Micah asked him, "What are you eating, man? Because you were running like a maniac." And he goes, "I eat Surinamese food. It's all Surinamese food." So plug to the Surinamese.
Wow. Is it more protein or carbs in Suriname, or we'll have to come back on.
I'm gonna have to confess some ignorance here, Gary, because you've asked me a question I don't know the answer to. I've never been to Suriname.
Do your homework.
No, I mean, while I have eaten Surinamese food many years ago, while living in the Netherlands, no, I cannot say that I know much about Surinamese food. No. Plantains. I imagine there's a lot of plantains.
I imagine plantains, exactly. Yeah, a lot of carbs.
Lord knows I loves me some plantains. Anyway, but we digress. And then of course, you can't talk about the game without talking about the influence of Lamine Yamal, 17 years old. That goal showed a craftiness, a coolness, a maturity that goes well beyond 17. And he's doing stuff like that, dribbling past 4 defenders, twisting, turning, and then just like almost casually hitting that left foot. I mean,
makes it look
disgusting.
Effortlessly easy, right? You're right. It's scary just to think that he's 17 years old, right? 17. And even won the Euros last summer with Spain, obviously, and won the Euros at the age of 16, right? Just before his 17th birthday as well. And so you can't help but think, is this the next generational wonder talent, the next Messi, the next, of his generation? And he's putting all the numbers up and showcasing that he
can't help but think. Right? Okay, let's do some numbers since you mentioned numbers. Lamine Yamal had 100. That was his 100th start for Barcelona. Okay,
you stole 17. I have the same information in front of me as well. I was going to compare them as well. Yes.
Okay,
yes.
So let's hear your information first. Since I'm not going to steal your thunder, let's go.
At the age of 17, obviously the comparisons are being drawn to Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, right? At the age of 17, Lamine Yamal has played 100 times. Mm-hmm. He has scored 22 goals and got 33 assists in 100 games at the age of 17. At the same time in their career, Lionel Messi had played 9 times and scored 1 goal, okay? Cristiano Ronaldo, 19 times, scored 5 and 4 assists, okay? So a little bit further down the line. Now, there is the argument, has he come on too early? Can he sustain it? Has he have the longevity? There's injuries, all those other kind of things. But he is blowing them away just on a metric basis. And it's not sort of like, it just happens as well. These are wonder goals, worldies that he is scoring. And he is absolutely skinning Italian defenders, which it's just, defies the laws of footballing physics.
Your research, absolutely spot on. The only other variable that I have to that is looking at Yamal's 100 game statistics and Messi's 100 game statistics. You find Lionel Messi has 55 contributions. Yamal, 55 contributions. But with Messi, it was 41 goals and 14 assists.
Okay.
Messi had earned 4 trophies by the time he had his 100th game with Barcelona. Yamal has 3 trophies. I don't think those are all Barcelona trophies, but he's got at least 3 trophies in his cabinet.
And more coming this season. Yep. And he's going to lock up a few more.
And just looking at that alone, not just the age question, but just looking at the 100 stats, and I didn't do that for Ronaldo. If you had given me some hint, I would have prepared, but I didn't have that. I would be surprised if Ronaldo has anything significantly less. He's probably on par, is my gut instinct. Thierry Henry mentioned it. He goes, every generation, every year, there are players that surpass the previous generations. It just happens. And every time that happens, we think to ourselves, it can't get any better than this. You can't find another player that's going to be more magical than Pele, more magical than Maradona, more magical than Van Basten. Insert name here, more magical than Ronaldo, than Messi. That it doesn't. Guess what?
There it is.
There it is. There they are. Yeah. They will be there. Guaranteed they will be there. And they will exceed the previous generation because as soon as that stops happening, that's where the interest in the sport's going to stop. That's yeah. What is it? It's evolve or die.
Yeah. Yeah.
And these players just get better and better. And so, something that should be lauded, something that should be celebrated. I mean, I don't think you see any of these older players casting any sour grapes on the younger generations. They go, wow, good for you. That's great.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it is amazing.
We did it while smoking, but fine. If you guys don't want to smoke, go ahead.
We would be cracking beers at halftime as well beforehand, and do it play with a hangover.
Sure.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it truly is remarkable. Sort of, just the impact that Lamine Yamal is having, and it's as I say, the only thing that will prevent him from being considered as one of the greats of the game, if he carries on this trajectory, is injuries. Yeah, that will be the only thing.
I agree with you 100%. It's going to be injuries and his own mentality.
Yeah. Well, the mentality, I mean, maybe the fame gets too big to him, and that's it. Yeah, maybe
it's all there.
Yeah. It is. He's got it all. He's got it all, and he is a wonderful, wonderful soccer player. He is, and so well. And do you know what's interesting is that game against Inter, that Barca-Inter game was so good. I completely sort of have forgotten about the PSG Arsenal game. It was relatively, that was just, I know it's like, remember there was another semifinal.
There was another semifinal. And you're right, because that game was a pale candle up against the unmitigated sunlight and of the Barcelona Inter game. That was a game, and I did watch that game, and I don't have much to say about it. And that's not an insult to either Arsenal or PSG, or is it? But it
was just not as entertaining as well. It was a great game. It was a great game.
It was a good game.
If I'm recounting, Dembele scored early on. Yeah, fourth minute, great goal. Obviously on fire and on form as well.
Sure.
Obviously not 17 years old, so not as much of an exciting narrative. Kavica, that wonderful Georgian winger, got manhandled and should have had a penalty by Timber? Was it Timber, the Arsenal player? The irony as well. There's a joke in there as well.
The fact that Timber was still on the field by the end of the half was a bit shocking. I recognize that these are big moments, and sometimes referees have to give some discretion. But come on, there was that. Then there was the two. I mean, both tackles were yellow cards, clear yellow cards, and he didn't get anything. And it was just I did not think that was particularly good. By the way, the officiating in the Barcelona game was top notch. That guy was amazing.
Yeah, that was that good.
That whole crew was so good.
They were tight, yeah. And do you know what's interesting here? Now you compare that to the antics that Real Madrid played the weekend before against Barcelona, of course, and they were sort of, front running and sort of, trying to get in the referee's head. They don't, again, it's the Barcelona way of we're not going to play those games. That the only interesting thing was that it was a semi-automated VAR for that fourth goal that didn't go in.
Literally a shoe size.
It was a toe. It was not even a shoe size. I mean, it was a toe. It was a toe. But the rules are the rules, and offside. But that was the first time we actually saw the semi-automated VAR actually work and get a quick answer and a quick reaction, rather than go and look at the screen and sort of drag on and sort of kill the flow of the game. So
to be fair, the AR had his flag up. Like, he waited, ball went in, then he put his flag up, then VAR confirmed his call. Mm-hmm. Had he not put the flag up, then you start to get the controversy in as well. But listen, he got it spot on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Got it spot on.
And I do appreciate, obviously, with yourself being a referee at the, obviously not quite the Champions League levels, but I do think it's great having your insights and also just being able to I think referees get a shit time a lot of the time as well. So I think it's definitely worth calling out that the officials did an excellent job of keeping that game flowing and got all the calls right.
Officials get crap about 90% of the time.
Yeah. It's true. Human beings. It's true. Yeah.
You're always, no matter what you do as an official, you're always going to have half the people there hating you.
Indeed, it's true. Yeah,
it is very rare when you have both sides come up afterwards and be like, "Hey, that was a good game.
Great game.
No, and by the way, it has happened. It does happen. It's not like it's impossible. But it does take two two sidelines and benches that have a particularly significant amount of grace in their soul to be able to say, well, we lost that game, but you did great.
You made the right call as well. That offside, that was not actually offside; it was onside, and we conceded, right?
But it's something. Sometimes, I mean, like I said, it is a thankless job, but yet without the referees, there is no game.
You need it.
That's in the laws.
There is no game.
Yeah,
there is no game. Indeed. Okay, so that wraps up a wonderful semi-final sort of round of the Champions League. Obviously, amazing. We've got another
leg two. I think leg 2 is just going to be off the hook.
We hope, right? We hope. What was interesting as well is I noticed the amount of substitutes that happened at halftime as well. I know before the Barcelona game, there was sort of rumors that Lamine Yamal's groin or hamstring.
He was in the warm-ups. He was
just not feeling it, and probably
that mattered. Sure.
Like that mattered. But then I know Inter lost Martinez at halftime, which is obviously a big loss. He scored a lot of goals for them through the season, and I think it's definitely been called out. Like he was a big reason why they've been on such a good run. I think he scored 22 goals this season already, and this is his 4th season in a row where he scored plus 20 goals in a season, which is obviously really, really valuable. So. Hopefully they can get him back in time. I think he had a hamstring, so I don't know if he'll be back in time, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
And then obviously the return fixture. You'll hope that the PSG Arsenal fixture. I mean, Arsenal just looked like they were completely just head and shoulders below where PSG were, which was really surprising because I know we've been giving PSG a hard time saying they're playing a shitty league. Obviously, they struggled to get through the group. Well, when I say groups, the new format Champions League to get out of that sort of new sort of format. Sort of they had to sort of do the knockout competition as well. But all of a sudden they've turned it on in the back half of the season. And I mean, if you have a final PSG Barca final, that would be something exciting. It would be a really, really exciting final for sure. Yeah, indeed. Okay, so let's switch our attention to the other semi-final in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, which was played yesterday. Obviously, there is the Cruz Azul Tigres game tonight, so we're not sort of too sure what's going to happen there in the second leg. They drew 1-1, so we'll see. That will be
I think. Well, just quickly on that one, I think Cruz Azul is in the driving seat. They're at home. They're at home tonight. They're very stingy at home. They just have to be. They've got to, I would look to see them almost park the bus, do a park the bus scenario, they're going to want to play their possession. They're going to want to try to hit some quick counters. They're going to want to get a quick goal. But listen, that match last week was very dull. It was not very exciting, and I'm not expecting a very exciting match here either. Both teams are just going to do whatever I think Tigres is forced to be more aggressive. And I think Azul is going to take advantage of that and try to punch them on the counter. There you go. There's my take.
Okay, so while we've obviously covered Inter Milan, let's go over to the other side and look at Inter Miami.
The other Inter M team with 5 letters.
The Inter M team. So they played yesterday, obviously, against Vancouver. Lost. They got absolutely ran over by Vancouver, by a very young Vancouver team who admittedly are just on fire at the moment. They look so strong. And I think we've called it out here before and said that they really should be in the Club World Cup. They really do deserve to put a flag in for Canada, as you've called out. And just that young electric team that they have looks fantastic. But just if we're looking objectively at Inter Miami, they are in the top part of the Eastern Conference. Obviously, they still have a game in hand as well. So they're in the mix there as well. They've been knocked out of a semi-final, right? However, it does seem that there are cracks in the foundation of their philosophy and their structure seem to be revealing themselves. What would your sort of assessment be there?
Say that I'd say there's trouble in paradise, Gary. I mean, I don't want to go out and say that they've been sitting in the eye of the hurricane, but no, there is a storm of brewing there. There's such a heavy reliance on those aging stars, and that's not to say that that those stars aren't good. By MLS standards, Inter Miami are still a strong team, but that's not good enough. And in the Club World Cup, it's absolutely not even going to be close. I think it's going to be a rude awakening in the Club World Cup when they start going up against teams who trust me, they all are watching, and they saw how Vancouver dismantled Inter. So they're thinking, great, we just need to hit them with some pace and some simple execution. A couple of nice through passes that cut across their lines. They can't adjust fast enough. There you go, right? And the Miami apologists will be like, well, they got lucky deflections. Yeah, no.
You can't sugarcoat that. You can't sugarcoat that. Yeah.
No, that shot by Berhalter, the bullet in the head, that was that shot by Berhalter. That was going in anyway.
Yeah, no one's stopping.
I don't think Gustari was getting there. I think he was beat.
No,
I think the fact that it hit another Miami player and deflected into the goal was unlucky, but I think it did not change the inevitable, which was that ball was going in, and the Miami fans were going to take that as a sign to all leave the stadium, which they duly did. They all left after that.
I think, you're right. I think, first of all, we should absolutely, Vancouver are fantastic. Berhalter is I think he's already on for midfielder of the season, and there is a strong case that if he keeps going like this, he will get player of the season because
I'll tell you this,
fantastic.
It is an absolute travesty that he will not be in the final. It's an utter travesty that he will not be in the final. And yes, he should have known, he shouldn't have gotten those yellow cards, but I mean, he's young, he's a midfielder, he's trying to do his bit, it's just an absolute, was it Alexi Lalas called it weak sauce.
Yeah, okay. That's it. Yes, weak sauce.
There is weak sauce. And he's right. He's right.
Yeah. Yeah. There is a trend though, isn't there? Which is, again, I know, we've talked about this. We had the two semifinals of the Champions League and the CONCACAF Champions Cup, right? The CONCACAF Champions Cup is taking the old version of the Champions League in terms of the away goal rule and the rules and these kind of things. And then I believe it's the Champions League as well, that all sort of suspensions and things like that, yellow cards, get voided for a final, basically, so you can have your two best teams as well. So there is still that sort of disparity and sort of evolution of the thinking in terms of the cup competition, which is there. So yeah, but it will be an absolute
but you
shame
think that I mean, sorry, Berhalter, next year you get a chance? No, it's a shame. And I'm so pleased. In the post-game interview, he was interviewed and they didn't bring it up, which would have really been, I think, a horrific thing to do, because he knows
it's just cruel.
He's just on the high, man. You know, he's on the high, and
he just dismantled.
Don't bring him down. It's that's not bring him down. Will they be at a disadvantage? Significantly. Now, here's the interesting thing. You talk about him being midfielder of the year. Berhalter's stats in the MLS are not great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they're not great. He's got one goal, only one goal, right? He has really been a big game, right? Tournament player. He's well down on on my threat matrix, which you'll find out more about that. But he's only got one goal. He's had 13 shots, so that's not a great percentage. He does have, and he only has one assist. So his tournament play and his tournament numbers are significantly greater than his MLS numbers. On the MLS side, it's other teammates that are picking up the slack they're other teammates for Vancouver. But when it comes to these big games, Ahmed, White, Berhalter are the trinity that are killing it for Vancouver in all non-MLS competitions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brian White also happens to be doing it in MLS too.
Well, he's doing it in MLS. He's banging them in as well. No, he's on a real rich train of form, which is wonderful to see. So just sort of looping back around to Inter Miami, the other thing that sort of reminded me of this, if we recall, as we mentioned, Miami have only lost one game in the MLS, and that was last weekend against Dallas, where they were 3-0 up or 3-1 up, took off a couple of players, made some substitutions. Dallas came back at them and smashed them 4-3. Okay. And they held back all of their stars because they were reserving them and keeping them with this match in mind, this semi-final in mind, right? So what it has exposed is that they cannot, those aging stars, call them the four of them, right? I think Alaba probably looks like he's the fittest and sort of the most at it. He still looks, I keep calling him Alaba. Yes, it is Alba. Jordi Alba, the left back, keeps on looks the most fittest. Busquets, just his awareness and his positioning and his movement, he sort of looks on it. But Messi, we know, is being managed. Suarez, it just seems unfair just to keep going on Suarez, but I think he's got a. I
don't think that you should be hating on Suarez. Listen, he had chances, right? I mean, he took his chances. He didn't hit them.
Yeah.
And I think in two of them, had he been a few years younger, he would have squeezed off the shot before and possibly snuck it in. But he played the full 90, and he gave good effort.
Yeah. He got an assist, great, but he's maybe it's just a bad run of form. Maybe it is just bad run of form.
It's not, and even everybody has off nights. I don't think this was one of his off nights. I think this was one of Miami's off nights. I think the Jordi Alba goal was lucky. To be fair, that was a goalkeeping mistake. Takaoka messed that up. He should have done better. That should not have gone in the net.
Yeah,
but Takaoka made up for it because he had 5 saves afterwards. He was solid after that, right? He kind of stood up, shrugged his shoulders, and like all good goalkeepers do, become the goldfish.
Yeah.
Forget about everything.
Yeah.
It's another lap in the bowl, kids. And he did his job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now you talk about Miami's loss to FC Dallas. Well, Vancouver did the exact same thing.
That's true.
They did the exact same thing.
They rested their stars.
They rested everybody but 3. But interestingly, they brought on their stars at halftime when it was 0-0. And those 3 stars scored those 3 goals.
Delivered, yeah.
And they delivered. I find that also very telling. That for Vancouver, it's not just about these big statement games. They're in it to win it every game.
Yeah, it's a mentality.
There is no small game for Vancouver, right? There is no, we can afford to drop the points scenario.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are 100% committed to everything. And that's what you want to see.
Yeah. And so I agree with you. And honestly, they are looking really, really strong, and it's really exciting to watch them. I do, just looking forward into the Club World Cup. And we talk about, obviously, as I say, tournament soccer, because it's different from the league soccer where you're playing once a week. And obviously you're playing home and away. And obviously you've got time to rest, recover, and sort of deal with any knocks and bruises and injuries and manage those things. Tournament soccer is a different world altogether, right? Club World Cup, they're going to be playing a game every 3 or 4 days. Okay. Assuming they get out of the groups, right? And once they get out of the groups, then obviously it becomes thick and faster. That, as I say, cracks in the foundation. That will hurt Miami because, again, now, look, they could win their first game, win their second game, and then the third group game doesn't matter. And that's when maybe they can then rest Suarez, Messi, and co. But I don't have a lot of hope for them being able to go deep into that competition just because of this sort of like games coming thick and fast and getting more intense and obviously more competitive as they go through, right?
If they were in the competition now, if the competition started next week, I would give them very little chance. They have an opportunity to recover, and there's still some time before the Club World Cup starts. I've got to reserve some judgment. I've got to really study what their brackets are and really look at some of the other teams and how they play. But I would not be, I certainly wouldn't. If I was on the Miami staff, I would not be sitting there thinking it's going to be a cakewalk into the next round by any means.
No. So in their group, they have Al Ahly, Porto, Portuguese team, and then Brazilian Palmeiras.
No,
okay,
that's not a good group.
So you think that they'd win?
I mean, listen, Al Ahly.
You think they've got one? Okay, yeah.
They're tough.
Yeah. Oh, you think so? Oh, okay.
What, are you kidding me? They're the best team, and they're the Egypt's strongest team. Yes.
Okay.
No, they're gonna bring it.
Porto, you don't have a chance, and then Palmeiras. I mean, just all those young Brazilians again. That sort of the Brazilians are on fire at the moment as well. So, yeah. Anyway, we'll save that for the other podcast, for the Club World Cup podcast. Go subscribe, FIFA Club World Cup podcast. There you go, another plug. Got that one. Squeeze that one in there. Okay, so I think But again, I just think if you're David Beckham and co, you're looking at this and saying, look, the season's not over yet. It's obviously just we've had a bit of a bump in the road. Yeah. But when it comes to these sort of, tournament style competitions, yeah, I think the philosophy and the approach of just go and get the aging stars is actually sort of being revealed, whereas Vancouver have said, look, we're going to go and find the young players and go and build them up and then sort of move them on. Right?
This was a big speed bump for Miami.
Yeah. Yeah. And it wasn't just a close game or they just lost it and it was unfortunately it was out on penalties. They got outplayed in both legs, home and away. Yeah. Outplayed.
They were completely and utterly destroyed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's sad to think that when Vancouver entered the stadium in Miami with 2 goals plus, there were people who were saying, well, it's basically just an even game. No, it was not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, with that first goal, you think, okay, there's a chance, and this is game on,
and there was. All they needed was one more goal.
Yeah,
and all of a sudden it becomes level, and everything changes, and the dynamics change, and the emotions change.
The fitness, and the legs go, and that's it. Yeah, and
Vancouver just and they were pressuring. They were pressuring hard going into the locker room. Going into the first half, and when the second half came out, Vancouver was just on another level. They said, nope, that's it.
That's it.
You had your chance. Now it's our turn. Thank you.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, okay, so we'll find out who Vancouver play in the final, and that's going to be on the 1st of June, I believe. So there's a whole month to go.
There's another month
to go as well. So there's a lot of stuff that happens in between then. So we'll see how it happens. Congratulations to Vancouver. Okay, so moving forward to the other batch of semifinals that are going to be happening this afternoon in a few hours for us as we record this. Obviously, we've got the Europa League semifinals where you've got Man U and Spurs playing against Athletic Bilbao, I believe it is, if my memory serves me correctly. And then, of course, you have Tottenham against, which is our new favorite team, Bodo Glimt.
Bodo. Love that team.
Yeah. So Bodo/Glimt. I know you wrote a really good article just explaining who the hell they are. How the hell did they get into the semis? I mean, they beat Twente, Olympiacos. I mean, Lazio. That was a biggie on penalty. I mean, that was a big scalp, right? Yeah. So, do you want any other sort of insights or narratives here? Because this is fascinating.
They are. I mean, it's one of the northernmost cities in the world, right? So they're in the Arctic Circle. They do play outdoors year round. Their stadium is not enclosed. It does have undersoil heating, so no ice accumulation or snow accumulation. It all melts and drifts off. But in the month of December, they have zero sunlight, period. None.
And they don't pause the season. Yeah, they don't make them go inside or change
no sunlight.
Stadiums. They play through.
And from June 1st through July 14th, the sun does not set. It is 24 hours of daylight.
Wow. Yeah.
So, it's that extreme. And how did they get here? I mean, they nearly qualified for the Champions League. In the new Champions League format, there's like a play-in, where teams can go into that. And they had to play 3 rounds. They completely destroyed in round 2 and round 3. They just got pipped by Red Star Belgrade. And interestingly enough, Red Star came in to the Champions League and completely crapped out. They were one of the worst teams. They were definitely in the bottom. They didn't obviously qualify into the playoffs, but they did not perform all that well. But that earned them their Europa League spot. And they've beaten good teams. They have more goals. They've scored more goals in their campaign than Tottenham. They've also played 2 extra games. So in that sense, right, you could look at it and say that they're fairly even. They are also extraordinarily lopsided. They win at home and they lose on the road. They've won every game at home except one. And that was against Karabakh out of Azerbaijan. That's the only game they played. They played 10 games at home in this campaign, and they've won 9.
Okay. Wow.
But on the road, they've lost every game, drawn 1, and won 1.
Okay. And
so the big question is going to be this is the match that matters. They have to be tight.
Yeah.
I would expect to see Bodo really playing a defensively minded game here. One thing to note, their field is turf.
Mm-hmm.
Tottenham doesn't play on turf ever. So in that sense, the ball plays very differently on turf than it does on grass. It's also exposed to the wind. The stadium does not have walls. It only seats 8,000 people. Okay, so it's not enclosed. This is not a pristine environment.
Yeah,
and Tottenham's going to have to deal with that.
So that will be the second leg, obviously, because they're playing at Spurs.
That'll be the second leg.
Yeah, second leg. So the idea is basically just hold fast, don't concede too many, don't let this get out of hand, and then take them back to our place, and then we'll take them over.
It all comes down to not conceding goals. If they can score, then that's great. But for Bodo, their objective has to be hold. And then when they get at home, unleash it.
Yeah, and then go for it as well, right? Fantastic. Well, that was exciting, yeah. And then, of course, we've got Manchester United against Athletic Club, and so it's a really bizarre situation, right? And if we can move over to the Premier League now, and obviously sort of looking into this game week coming up, you've got Man United in 14th on 39 points, and then you've got Spurs in 16th on 37 points. Now, as we know, all three are down, so they're not going to get relegated. However, if West Ham win this weekend and they don't get results, all of a sudden, like, you've got Spurs and Manchester United in 17th and 16th, but yet they are potentially knocking on the door of a final. And then what is interesting is one of them, let's just assume Man U and Spurs get through to the final of the Europa League. One of them will win it, and one of them then will get into the Champions League next season. Huge money, dollars, euros, pounds, whatever you want to call it, will come raining down on them because they have qualified for the Champions League with that, because that's obviously the Holy Grail and sort of where all the prize is. Now, that's going to be wonderful for one of them, because they both need it, because we understand there's some financial constraints both on the Manchester United, and I was also reading as well how Spurs are running into not a financial problem, but a cash flow problem. They're actually going to have to sell to plug an accounting sort of situation that they have.
Makes sense. So they're like 48 kids on their roster. The roster's gigantic.
They've got a big one as well, and they've got some loan players as well, and obviously they've got to finance this new stadium, which is meant to be one of the state of the arts. I haven't been to it, but it looks fantastic. So what it will be interesting is the team. Now we're hypothesizing here that these two get to the final. Whoever loses, it's not sort of like, wow, we've done really well, we got to a final loss. They are in real trouble then next season, because you don't have Champions League soccer to go and attract new stars. You don't have money coming down that you can use to go and spend on them. Manchester United, as we know, have all these mega stars on massive money who are vastly underperforming for whatever reason. I'm thinking of Casemiro, I'm thinking of Rashford.
Sure.
I know this is Jadon Sancho. There's all of these players around the place. Anthony as well. That's another one as well, as they all come to my mind. It's kind of analogous to a sort of relegation scrap in a way of like, you have to win this if they get through to the final, right? They have to win.
I think that is a good analogy, because it's true for both those clubs. That's what matters. In my universe, neither make it.
Mm-hmm.
They both go down.
Athletic glimpsed final. Would that be? That would be.
Yes. And by the way, I don't think Bodo needs the money either. They're Norwegian. They're the richest, one of the richest countries in the world. So I think they're pretty well. I think they're probably pretty well funded. Yeah, but also they're so small as well. They don't have massive wage structures and wage bills as well, right? So they don't have that financial overhang, right? 23 of their 28 players are Norwegian.
Yeah, and so youth players brought them up through the systems. Yeah.
This is not a club that's attracting talent from around the world to say, "Hey, come north and play with us." No, the only non-Scandinavian on their team is their goalkeeper, who's a Russian national.
Okay.
So this is a team that's developing organically, homogeneously within their own communities. Yeah. So it's it's quite the story. I don't know what's going to happen. I really wish I did. All I know is I'll be watching. And with my big yellow toothbrush, screaming "Go Bodo!"
Go Bono.
So, yeah.
Okay. All right. So then that leaves obviously just the fixtures this week in the Premier League coming up, of course. And so I called this fact out to you just before we started recording, and you were chuckling hilariously. And as a Chelsea fan, it pains me to have to say this, but Chelsea are playing Liverpool at Stamford Bridge. And tradition and the customs of the Premier League dictate that when a team has won the Premier League before the end of the season, every single team that they play for the remainder of that season have to give the champions team, that is Liverpool, what is called a guard of honor. So all of the Chelsea players have to line up in front of the tunnel and stand up either side and clap them on and give them a guard of honor to celebrate and congratulate them for winning the league as well at Stamford Bridge.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So that will be something. I don't know if that'll be motivating or demotivating as well, but obviously Liverpool are in fine form, in confidence. They have got nothing to play for anymore as well. They are champions, no other competitions, no Club World Cup. I mean, they could sort of play the kids and just, give everyone a rest. I don't know why they would do that. I don't know if there's any records that they're going for. They're going to keep playing, keep pressing till the end. This is we never say die, we never retreat, we never turn our back. Is that's the approach?
That they're gonna, and what it is going to do is allow them to play with so much more freedom. Mm-hmm. And I think you're going to see an even better Liverpool as a result of it.
Yeah, they're just going to be unshackled. Yeah,
if it's any consolation, Crystal Palace must do the same for them. In the final match of the season.
Yeah, although, everyone does it. So
they have to do it because that's the final match. Although they will be at Liverpool. They're playing at Liverpool, I believe. Yeah, so they'll have to do it, there. But it's okay. Yeah. I mean, at that point, it'll be more than a done deal. You give credit to where credit is due, and
they've deserved it. They've deserved it, and they've earned it as well. So I think then just looking around some of the other fixtures that are going on. I know we have. Is it Forest are playing Brentford today? They're actually about to kick off today
from week 34,
last game week, because of the FA Cup antic, because of they were playing in the FA Cup and lost to Man City, and then they play Palace on Sunday. Is it on Friday? No, on Monday. It looks like.
We play Monday.
They play Palace on Monday. So I'm. Again, on one hand, I really want Forest to get into the Champions League. On the other hand, I don't want them to obviously take Chelsea's spot. So this game against Brentford will be important. They have to win that one. If they win that one, they'll get back up into third place, which will be still impressive from where they've been for a lot of the season. This is where Forest, you hope that they can just keep their form and keep sort of kicking on and keep chugging away, because I don't think Newcastle have hit a fine vein of form. Man City are sort of back. All of a sudden, they're dominating and running things again. So, and I don't think, and Arsenal are too far away as well. I don't think they're going to fall out of it as well. So it'll be interesting to see that Forest Palace game on Monday and also the Brentford Forest game today.
I actually think the Wolverhampton Man City game is the one to watch.
Mm-hmm. The two most informed teams of the season. The two most informed teams.
Wolverhampton have not lost a game.
Last 5 games. Yeah.
Well, they've won 5 games in a row, but they haven't lost a game. I think they've got some draws in there too. That before, no, they're in fine form. Yeah. City are actually not, crapping the bed either. So this is a really important match.
Yeah.
For Wolverhampton to establish the tone for next season. But for City, this is critical because there's that Champions League payout at the end.
Yeah.
So it really, really matters to them. And if they drop it, if they lose to Wolverhampton, it's going to be tough.
That's an interesting scenario. The idea of City actually stumbling and falling out, not getting Champions League soccer, right? Yeah. And of course, wow, that is interesting. And City obviously go into the FIFA Club World Cup as well. They are going to be in it. They've got, who are they playing? Wydad, Al-Ain, and then Juventus as well. So they should be okay. Okay. All right. So in terms of other matches as well, picks sort of looking out as well. Again, I think I would also be interested to see. Most of it
is all lower mid-table.
Well, there
nonsense, if you ask me.
There is the battle of you've got 16th against 17th. You've got West Ham Spurs, so you've got that London derby. Two teams are just there.
That's an important one, just in terms of pride.
Yeah, and they're playing on Sunday, and that also depends. Also, again, we'll see what happens if Spurs get slapped around by Bodo Glimt today, and then go and play West Ham as well. It's going to be it's Ange will want the season to end quickly, but hopefully with a trophy. So yeah. I think that pretty much covers the Premier League. The sort of most interesting stuff going on as well. The race for the top 5 is still on. So yeah, we'll go from there. So let's move through to the MLS and this game week coming up. There's a couple of interesting picks. I mean, the one that jumps out at me is, I know we've been sort of, shitting on Miami at the moment. Again, I don't think it's a crisis by any stretch of the imagination. They probably just need to think about their sort of their philosophy and their structure a little bit. But the one game that does jump out at me is this LA Galaxy, who are playing Houston.
Sporting Kansas City.
Is it Sporting Kansas? I'm sorry, I'm looking at the other
bottom.
So
it is the two worst teams in the West.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
are
two
playing
worst
each
teams
other
in the Western Conference. Exactly. Yes. So you've got LA Galaxy against Sporting Kansas. I mean, just to put this into context, LA Galaxy are the title holders, the record title holders with 6. And this season, they just, I keep sort of using the analogy of they get space jammed, but what the hell is going on there? When is that going to become? I'm not hearing that much about it, considering the sort of massive drop off that they have had.
Well, they do have a significant PR. They have a lot of PR strength, and so they're keeping it under wraps. Right?
That's fair. Yes. So yeah.
No, I mean there are some other issues, and I think there are more feel good stories out there than LA Galaxy sucks. I mean, not many.
That's true. Yeah.
And LA Galaxy sucks is in some cases its own feel good story, but no, there's. Yeah, they're not doing great, and I don't see a change. I don't see any light at the end of a tunnel. If this had been a momentary blip, they would have recovered earlier, and they're not.
It's not happening.
So I can't even. I hate to say it, but I don't even care enough to try and do the analysis to find out why. I'm just letting it go. I'm rolling with it, G. I'm rolling with it. I'm just going, fine. It is what it is.
It is what it is. We'll dissect it and go through the wreckage of it later on further in the season as well.
Yeah, there are so many better stories out there than
too
that
many
one.
Semi-finals and action and sort of competitions going on elsewhere as well, right? So yeah, that's fair.
But it has been an interesting season in the MLS. There are other than Vancouver, other than Cincinnati and Columbus. There's a lot of parity in this league, right? Charlotte was at the top; they've dropped down. The top 5 in the East is an absolute churn. Never sure who's going to be up at the top, right? They're constantly bouncing all around. The mid-table teams are just mid-table teams; they're just hanging in, and then the bottom teams are just awful. What really shocks me is how poorly Atlanta's doing. I am surprised at with all of that. With all of that support, all of that fan support, all of that talent, and that big wage bill of theirs, and they just can't get it. They can't. There's no. I don't know what it is. There's no chemistry. There's no cohesion.
Yeah. The return of Miggy was meant to be hailed as a positive, and it just hasn't shown up.
He's not doing anything.
He's not showing up.
That feel good story is soured. It's just. I mean, it's not good. What should have been a nice cup of wine is turned into vinegar.
Sour corked bottle of wine. That's
totally.
What it is, yeah. Oh my god, yeah.
And then and also DC United not doing great. I don't think that surprises anybody. But Atlanta United has the same record as them.
Yeah,
that's not good, right? Yeah. I mean, you've got your 2 Canadian teams, Toronto and Montreal, who coincidentally played a Canadian Cup final over the weekend. Montreal won their first win in 2025, so congrats to them. But they're just like the beat up team. So anybody playing them should be, expected to at least get a point out of it. And then Philadelphia Union, they run hot, they run cold. And in the West, everybody's super even.
Yeah, it's pretty consistent.
The parity in the West is crazy between a second and
10th,
second
to Salt Lake,
11th.
10th, Salt Lake. I mean,
18
San Jose,
points to 12 points. I mean, it's like at any time, boom, you can in 2 weeks you can have a complete flipping of this whole table. So
it's true. Yeah. It's interesting.
I mean, it's great stuff.
The other game, obviously, as well, we've called out a few times, is Austin FC. How they were sitting in second. I know they're third at the moment, but with a negative goal difference. As I say, that is
it's because they can't score.
Well, I thank you for explaining that. Yes, I understand the difference of goal difference, but yet they can't.
Well, no,
but
I mean,
third,
it doesn't make any difference. Because they're but they are the worst. Other than Montreal, they're the worst scoring team in the MLS.
Yeah, yeah, and they've lost 4, but yet they've won 5. So they either win or lose, and just one tie. So, but
every game has been a one. Every game that they've won has been by 1 goal.
Yeah,
and so it's usually a 1-0.
1-0, and then when they lose, they concede ship quite a few, right?
I mean, even Galaxy have scored more goals than Austin.
Yeah, so they need a striker as well. Everyone's in need of a striker by the sounds of it as well in the MLS. Right?
Yeah, the fact that I'm hearing people talk about Brandon Vasquez as possibly being in the U.S. squad for Gold Cup, it's pathetic. No way. Sorry.
No.
Not when you've got players like Brian White and Josh Sargent who are completely crushing it.
Yeah. Do you think? Well, this is interesting. Like Josh Sargent, so he plays for Norwich. He was featured I think he was sort of like, he's in the team of the season for the championship. I think Norwich are on track to go into the playoffs. So they're sort of playing quite well, and he's been playing relatively well. I feel like, and then so you've got Sargent and Pulisic potentially up front for the US. I feel like,
he's a shoo-in, right? But he doesn't. Yeah, doesn't play. But he doesn't play. Pulisic doesn't play the center. He doesn't play that traditional.
No, he plays on the wing position as well, right?
He's a winger.
So
he's right.
Sargent. Yeah, it would be interesting just to see how well Brian White would do in a championship or even a Premier League team as well. Obviously, I don't think you get as many goals, and obviously the level is not there. But it's just it's interesting, yeah. But to see,
but I do think he's deserved at least a shot at competing for that spot for Gold Cup for the United States. I mean,
that's because
listen, the one thing. Brian White might not be the flashiest player. He might not be the most accurate player, but he works his ass off.
Yeah.
And that mentality, that grit, that's something that the men's national team seems to have lost in their last few matches. He brings that in spades.
Mm-hmm.
He brings that in spades. I don't see anything from Brandon Vasquez at all. I mean, it's like he's literally just taking up space.
Yeah, no, he's taking up a spot that could be sort of replaced. So yeah, I agree. He's probably third in the pecking order as well, behind those two as well. So yeah, okay, and then so I think that covers as we've whisked around the MLS there, and obviously sort of following up what's going on there. And then let's finish off by wrapping up on the USL this weekend. I think there's
I mean, USL, the People's League, baby. Let's talk about it. The main thing to call out is that there's a national broadcast of the USL on CBS that at 4 p.m. Pacific, that's 7 p.m. Eastern, Oakland Roots versus Sacramento Republic. These two teams absolutely loathe each other, Gary. I mean, this is the derby of derbies for the USL. They do not like each other. It's going to be at the Oakland Coliseum, the last dive bar of stadiums, as they call it. They are expected to sell out. The prediction is they're going to have somewhere between 13 to 14,000 people there, which is a good number for a USL. It's higher than some MLS teams are pulling.
Yeah.
So that's the big one. Other big matchups though, which are exciting, at least to me, is Rhode Island versus San Antonio. Rhode Island are finally beginning to find some sort of form. San Antonio had a big dip, but have come back. So I think this is also Rhode Island's debut of their brand new stadium, Centerville Bank. They've been waiting for this for years. And Rhode Island has played every game up till now on the road.
Okay.
Because the stadium is rapidly trying to get itself ready to go.
Get it there as well, right? And that's one of the ones where they're obviously traveling, San Antonio to Rhode Island, because obviously San Antonio, it looks like in the Western Conference versus Rhode Island down at the bottom there, Eastern Conference. Okay.
Yeah. And so, I think this is a big one. And, also want to give a nice shout out to our fellow podcasters over at Raising Anchors. Go listen to them about everything. You want to know everything about Rhode Island? They're the guys. They know it all.
They are indeed. They are indeed.
Excellent
Wonderful
people. Excellent.
Okay, and so that national broadcast on CBS, as you say, it's wonderful to see this. I see, obviously, sort of all of this stuff being sort of broadcast and sort of being more accessible as well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And
should be good.
You're going to be at that Roots Sacramento game. Is that right?
We'll be there. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, okay,
I'll be there cheering on my Roots.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Well, in that case, it's fantastic. Well, look, we've gone deep into extra time as well, so I think it's time we probably blew the whistle on this one as well. So, Qooligan, as always, Thank you for covering off all the semi-final activity, all that action, as well as all of the other sort of antics going on around the MLS, the Premier League, and the USL. We'll be back early next week, wrapping up obviously the actions, and then obviously looking into the upcoming week. And of course, then we will also be doing some more recordings, doing some preamble for the Club World Cup show that we will be sort of covering and recording as well. So yeah, until then, Qooligan, thank you very much.
Peace.